Hello and welcome. It is 10:30. It is the 7th day of September 2021. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the OGGM. We are deep into the return to semi-normalcy of school, at least for the moment, and the beginnings of the Halloween season. And an interesting topic came up yesterday from, of all people, my brother. What would I charge people to DM/teach them? And what do I think about the idea of D&D camp? And I definitely have mixed feelings about charging somebody to play something that's basically free, other than the initial investiture in the books. And again, you don't even really need to invest in the books because they're free online. So technically playing D&D is free. What do you really need? The books are online, so dice rollers are online now, so you really don't need anything. You don't really need a character record sheet because it's online. So really, D&D is free. If you buy the books, it's kind of just more because they're easier, or you want them, or just because they're cool. But technically, you don't need them. Everything's online. Unless, of course, you're someplace where there's no online. So we're going to just leave that floating out there, that technically D&D is more or less sort of free. Is that even I just said absolutely nothing there. More or less sort of free, technically, kind of? Yeah, I don't know. So D&D camp. What would I charge somebody to run D&D, teach them D&D, knowing that there are people out there who are professional dungeon masters and are getting paid to run games, usually at people's houses or at parties, or even at corporate events. There's several D&D camps out there, several D&D clubs, several D&D education seminars, for lack of a better term. What do I think about that, and what would I charge? Considering it's something I often did for free, or in exchange for store credit, free sodas, and maybe occasional free crap from Seth over at Seth's Games Anime here in Ventura. It was never really something I thought about. Sort of in the back of my mind was always the idea, if somebody's paying you to learn D&D, play D&D, they should get something in return. Bare minimum, reserving a table at a game store, guaranteeing that you are going to have that table and a certain amount of chairs for 3 hours, and you won't be harassed or bothered by other people, in exchange for giving the game store $5 per person. I think that would be the bare minimum. $5 per person, 3 to 4 hours, guaranteed table, guaranteed chairs, guarantee you're not going to be bothered. And then, of course, in return, the game store hopes you will buy food from them and buy product from them. They might even say, we'll offer you a discount if you reserve table space, stuff like that. Seth often gave discounts to people who were learning the game for the first time on the starter sets or on their first set of dice. But bare minimum, you should, if you've never played before, you should at least get a character record sheet to take home, and maybe a printout of the basic rules. And we're talking $5 per person for a table for guaranteed 3 hours. And then if you need more time, you have to, give them another $5 per person. Then you bring in the food thing. Okay, so if you're buying food in the store, that's obviously more money for the store, and that's really what we want to encourage, is if we're running in a store, is having them spend money on product in the store and giving them discounts, giving them things like, if you buy it in the store, it shows up in the game, which is a ridiculous rule, but there are ways to encourage people to spend money in the store. And if you're running a game in the store and you're charging people money, bare minimum, you want to encourage them to spend money in the store, and you want to give them something to support them for supporting the store. And that, again, give them a discount on dice, a discount on the starter set, and their character record sheets for free. They get to take them home and, maybe a printout of the basic rules. So that's bare minimum. Now, if you bring outside food, that's where it gets iffy, because if you're paying the store, are you expecting the store to clean up after you? Or should the store charge you a cleaning fee in addition to the $5? And I think, yes, if you're not going to clean up for yourself, depending on what the food is, and I've seen some people bring in some disgusting food into game stores. Like one time, these guys brought in Kentucky Fried Chicken, and when they left, they just left the bones and all the Kentucky Fried Chicken junk just laying around. And then we had to clean up afterwards. It was just gross, picking up pieces of chicken and bones just laying on the ground. And that's when Seth was like, okay, I'm going to start charging people a fee to clean up after them if they leave disgusting messes. So yeah, I think if you bring outside food and you don't clean up after yourself, then there should be a charge of a cleaning fee in addition to the $5. So that's like the first step. Now, if we're doing something like D&D camp, D&D school, where you're teaching somebody how to play D&D, they're paying you a certain amount of money to learn how to play D&D, at the end of which, what do they get other than a basic introduction? Do they get a pre-generated character? Do you help them make their own character? They should get to keep that character. Do you give them dice or a discount on dice? Definitely. I think if there's a D&D camp, you should at least get a copy of the character to keep, either a discount on dice or a set of dice for free. And let's face it, getting dice for people is unbelievably easy. I can get a set for $1 on Wish plus 30 cents shipping and have a complete, so that's one set of dice for $1.30, $6 and $7.80 for 6 sets of dice from Wish. Not bad. So it's no cost to me if I'm running D&D camp to at least give you a copy of your character record sheet and dice. So, but this is, again, running at a store. And then, again, the main goal of running at a store is to support the store and subtly influence them to remain in the store and to spend more money in the store on dice, on figures, on product, on books. And you do that by offering them discounts. Like if it's $14.99, I'll discount it so it ends up being, $12, but then taxes takes it up to $14, so I'm really only losing 99 cents. And if that's, if I'm charging bare minimum retail to make a profit, but again, I'm offering you a discount. I'm offering you incentive to buy dice. I'm offering you incentive to spend money in the store and get things in the store. I love the gumball machine idea. If you haven't heard that, we can discuss that in a minute. But yeah, the gumball machine idea is perfect way to incentivize people keeping their money in the store. And you want to have easily disposable, but relatively clean snacks. So again, they're buying their soda from you. They're buying their chips and candy from you. Maybe, if you can get a food license, they're buying sandwiches from you. You want to also encourage them to clean up after themselves. But if you have to clean up after them, you maybe want to just also toss in a cleanup fee. But again, you want to keep all that purchasing in store. And then you want to extrapolate on that, and maybe discounts for if there's a food store next door or a bar next door, and you want to start getting into the whole brew pub, D&D pub idea. But if you're doing D&D camp, D&D school at a store, bare minimum, you're going to get a set of dice. Bare minimum, you're going to get a character record sheet, and I'm going to charge you anywhere from $6 to $10 per person. And that guarantees you at least 3 hours of play in a group of no more than 6 players. I think that's reasonable. Now we get over to where the big money-making controversy professional DM is at somebody's house. How much do I charge to run a game at somebody's house or someplace that isn't a game store, knowing that I'm risking my safety by going to someplace else. First, I have to travel there. So that's money out of my pocket. Then, do I know these people? Do I trust these people? Am I going to go into a stranger's house for 3, 4, 6 hours with no idea who these people really are? Do I set up a interview process ahead of time to make sure, I'm not going to go and get murderized because these people are actually insane anti-gamer cultists who are tricking me? Okay, that's a little extreme, but you get my point. I got to worry about travel. There, back. Got to worry about food. And then I got to worry about safety. Those are all things to consider if I want to go DM at somebody's house and have them pay me to run a game or do a D&D birthday party. The food thing is weird. Do I bring my own food? Or do I expect them to feed me? Or do I just eat before I get there and bring my own drinks so there's no preconceived thing about food and I'm not responsible for any mess? That one's probably the best. You eat before you get there. The bare minimum, you just bring water and then you leave. And if you make a mess, you clean up after yourself, but anything else is on them. So if Charles jumps up on the table and knocks over the coffee, that's not on you because you didn't bring the coffee and you didn't come in with the expectation that they were going to feed you. They're paying you to run a game. What do they get for you running the game? Well, again, bare minimum, they should get to keep the characters if you made characters for them. If they brought in their own characters, well, then whatever. Bare minimum, they get your time, they get your energy. Maybe you give them dice if you're teaching them how to play. If you're doing like a D&D birthday party, then you could, one of the party favors could be dice, cheap figures, pencils, copies of the character sheet. And for that, you could charge travel time, at least travel time, and as well as probably something per person, either for a set amount of time or a lesser amount per person per hour. So let's say it's a D&D birthday party for a bunch of kids who've never played before. I'm coming there with pre-generated characters. I'm going to give them, the 20-minute, this is how you play. And then we've got 2 to 3 hours of gaming, depending upon the level of interest. And they're getting, copies of the figure, the characters, cheap sets of dice, maybe, pencils, other, cheap figure stickers, basically D&D related party favors. I would say you charge a lesser amount because you're teaching them, but you do it either a blank amount for the 3-hour term or, X amount per person for the 3-hour term. Especially if you're getting a lot of people, it's actually more financially solvable to charge per person per hour if you're doing the party for 12 people. But you still want to keep it reasonable. So make them at least pay for my travel time. Don't worry about food. You don't have to feed me. I'll take care of myself, and I'm not responsible for the mess because I brought my own food. I cleaned up for myself. I'm providing character sheets. I'm providing cheat sets of dice. I'm providing, the stickers and whatever else. So I expect to be reimbursed for those. And then I'm going to charge you a flat fee in addition, based upon a certain amount of people. So 5 or less, I charge you, $200. 6 to 9, I charge you $300. 10 to 15, I charge you $400. 15 plus, I charge you $500 to $1,000, and so on and so on. And for that, you get the 3 hours, you get the character record sheets, the dice, the stickers, the cheap figures, the pencils, the party favors, and you get questions and answers and everything like that. So that's D&D camp, D&D party. If they're bringing their own characters and they want you for 4 hours and you feel safe, then again, I'd probably charge per person or lump fee. 4 hours, $400, or per person, $14 per hour per person, or something like that. Because you want to make it worth your time, especially if you're traveling. But you're not going to make a fortune off of running D&D for people. So if you're going in expecting to make $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $20 per person per hour, that's not going to happen. You're talking more like $8 per person per hour. Let's be reasonable, but maybe a little bit more. Bare minimum, you want to at least make minimum wage, right? So $14 per person per hour. If it's at a home, if they're bringing their own characters, if they're not feeding you, and also that covers your travel fee. You're not giving them anything because you're assuming they have everything. Then we move down to D&D Party, where you are giving them something. You expect to be reimbursed for your travel. Food, do not touch the food area because that's just too much responsibility. Maybe even waivers for safety. You're bringing the party favors, so you're probably going to charge more. And again, it depends upon the size of the group. If I'm doing it for 5 kids, I'd say, you know what, travel time, there and back, plus $300. Larger groups, more money. Doing at a store, I'm going to charge you less because I want to incentivize you to spend more money in the store. So I'm going to, seduce you with dice, with copies of the character record sheets. Again, maybe discounts on figures, discounts on books, discounts on the food. I'm going to want you to spend money on the food if the store has food, or I've arranged some type of game pub deal if there's food next door. But I'm charging you to sit in the seat, and I'm charging you for my time. So, $5 per hour per person, or $5 for 3 hours per person, and then an additional maybe $14 an hour or less for me. So that is how I would run D&D camp, D&D school, D&D at a store. But I never, ever want anybody to spend that money and not get anything returned. Bare minimum, you get to keep the characters. Whether they're pre-built characters that the DM made or they're characters you built yourself, you get to take those home. And I know there's a lot of D&D camps that don't even let you do that. I mean, I know at least 2 stores that run D&D camp, and at the end of the D&D camp, you're paying the guy $60 per person, and you don't get to even keep the character. You don't even get a coupon discount on dice. $60 per person, I'm at least letting you keep the character sheet, and I'm either giving you a free set of dice because it costs me $1.30 from Wish, or I'm arranging that the store gives you a discount. Now, we said we'd do the gumball machine idea, so we'll wrap up with the gumball machine idea. If you haven't heard the gumball machine idea, you can get those plastic circular things that you see in gumball machines that have rings in them, or rubber ninjas or balloons or whatever, in bulk from party stores for nothing, and are online for nothing. There is a whole subgenre of shopping for just filling up gumball machines with things besides gumballs, like little rubber monsters. So what you do is you get a gumball machine, you buy a bunch of these plastic things, and then you fill them with things that could help players in the game, like cosmetics, non-combat pets, temporary bonuses, discounts on product in the store. And you fill the gumball machine with this, and you charge them the same you would a gumball machine, 25 cents, 1 turn. They get the thing, they open it up, it says +1 to your next die roll. That's huge. And it only costs you 25 cents. But then there's the incentive to keep going because there's more +1s. There's a cosmetic reward in there, a non-combat pet, more temporary bonuses, more discounts. I know one store that averaged $200 a day just off of the gumball machine, and the amount of money they had to spend once they made the initial expenditure on the gumball machine, which only cost them like $100, is basically the monthly amount to get more of the little plastic things, because people aren't going to recycle them, and the amount of time it takes to write up each individual bonus and put it in the machine. So it's all profit. So if I could have a store that did that, and I knew all that money was going directly to the store, I would probably charge even less for people to sit there and game, doing something I would do for free, anything, knowing that my goal is to make the store money, and then the store would in return reward me on the back end with discounts, credit, free shit, stuff like that. So that is how I would do D&D camp, D&D school, to get paid to be a professional DM. And if you're thinking about being a professional DM and you think you can make money off of it, great, fine, but do not quit your day job at all. please, because it's a feast or phantom job. And, for every week you're going to be making money playing D&D, and there's going to be 3 weeks where you're not. So do not quit your day job. So there we go. That is a video response to something my brother, of all people, brought up yesterday. If you appreciate this thought experiment, let me know. If you think paid DMing is a thing, let me know. If you've ever paid for it, let me know. What was your experience? What do you think you should get for paying somebody to run a game for you? Let me know. Please let me know what you're thinking. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 1,000 subs. Until then, stay warm, stay dry, stay awesome, stay in school, stay off my land. I will talk to you later.